Hello again. Welcome back to the party. Don't worry, you didn't miss nothing. Okay, so Caylee Marie Anthony, August 9th, 2005, all the way to June 2008. So, short life lived. Anyways, she was an American toddler who lived in Atlanta, Florida, with her mother, Casey Marie Anthony, born in '86, and her maternal grandparents, George and Cindy Anthony. Caylee was reported missing in a 911 call made by Cindy, who said she had not seen the child for 31 days. According to what Cindy told police dispatcher, Casey had given variety explanations as to Caylee's whereabouts before eventually saying she had not seen her daughter for weeks. Excuse me, you haven't seen your own child in weeks, but you're the sole parent? What? Casey later called the police and falsified told the dispatcher that Caylee had been kidnapped by a nanny on June 9th. Casey was charged in the end with first-degree murder, October 2008, and pled not guilty. Now, let's roll it back to the events that have led up to her being charged first-degree murder. Shall we? Let's go. On December 11th, 2008, Caylee's skeleton remains were found with a blanket inside a laundry bag in a wooded area near the Anthony family residence. Investigative reports and trial testimony varied between duct tape being found near the front of the skull, on the mouth of the skull. Medical examiner listed Caylee's cause of death as homicide by undetermined means, which I've watched documentaries in the court on this, so I automatically know, but I'm not going to tell you, not just yet, until we get to it, so you wait. Okay. Y'all didn't know that, but I paused for a good hot minute because I had to find something. Because what I was reading was like jumbling in my brain and I couldn't function because it wasn't in order. But I found something. It's on. Okay. 2008. World was captivated by the bizarre behavior displayed by Caylee Anthony. How did you get over the microphone? Get your shit together. But then the 22-year-old single mother from Orlando, Florida, was revealed to have spun a web of lies to cover up for the disappearance of her 2-year-old daughter, Caylee. That summer, the Facebook photos of her partying around town and in a dearth of emotions and interviews fueling the charges of first-degree murder before Caylee's body discovered later that year. Woo! Y'all ready for this? Dun, 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 dun. Okay. August 9th, 2005, Caylee arrives after Casey's reported denials to her other family members about her pregnancy, although she suggested possible partners, including then-fiancé Jesse Grund and another young man who supposedly died in a car accident that identity of Caylee's father is never publicly revealed. I know. Crazy, right? Keeps your legs closed. Just because you're a woman don't make you a mother. Okay. Caylee was raised in Orlando home of her grandparents, Cindy and George Anthony. But the day after alleged family argued on Father's Day, June 15th, Casey leaves with her young daughter and rebuff efforts to reconcile in person. July 15th, 2008, Cindy reports that Caylee is missing, the grandmother. After learning that a family car used by Caylee had been impounded, George retrieves the car and is overwhelmed by the smell that remains even after a bag of trash was removed from the trunk. Cindy tracks her daughter later that day over a string of 911 calls reporting that Caylee has been missing for a month, demands Casey's arrest, and notes that the vehicle's odor saying it smells like there has been a dead body in the damn car. July 16th, 2008. Casey leads investigators on a pair of wild goose chases. Excuse you, fly. You're not welcome here. Get out of here. So, they were first led to the uninhabited apartment of a nanny named Zendaya Fernandez Gonzalez. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but we're just going to hope that I did and wish for the best. I think they called her Zany. I don't know. Who allegedly ran off with Caylee on June 9th and then to the Universal Studios where Casey pretended to have a job. She was arrested and charged with child neglect, lying to investigators, interfering with criminal investigations, blah, blah, blah. Q. Back to the car. The hearing introduced evidence that a cadaver dog had zeroed in on the odor of human decomposition in the trunk of the car in the Anthony's backyard, as well as Cindy's admission that they had all seen Caylee at the June 9th, although Casey is being held on minor charges, blah, blah, blah. Her bond's posted. So, I did some deep searching in like the pits of hell on Google to find an actual correct layout timeline of this crap because I couldn't find it anywhere. So that's fun. That's what I was doing. So, June 9th, 2008, Caylee and her daughter, Caylee, move out of Casey's parents, Cindy and George's Anthony's home, and in with her ex-boyfriend, Ricardo, and friend Amy. Cool. June 15th, 2008. Caylee is videotaped visiting an assisted living facility with grandmother, Cindy Anthony, that morning, who is visiting her father. Cindy swims with Caylee and Anthony's pool later that day afterwards, removing the ladder and closing the gate. June 16th, 2008. Caylee is last seen alive at the Anthony family residence. According to the defense, Caylee drowned in the family's above-ground pool, sometimes during the day, and both Casey and George Anthony panicked upon finding the body and covered up her death. But the timeline of that day follows. 7 a.m. Cindy Anthony testified that she left for work a few minutes before 7, while everyone is at home sleeping. 7:52. Activity from Caylee Anthony password-protected accounts on MySpace and research for Shot Girls costumes for Tony Lorenzo's nightclub event. 7:56. Caylee AIM account was used to chat on the computer. 12:15 p.m. According to George Anthony, Caylee departed with Casey by car around 12:50 with backpacks on their shoulders. Note, although George testified that Casey and Caylee left the house at 12:50, there's further computer activity on the home computer associating with Casey's account and her cell phone pings. Do not leave the area of the Casey family home until about 4:11 p.m. You cannot lie when you got physical evidence like that. So 1:39 p.m. Activity associated with Casey's AMI, MySpace, and Facebook account at 1:39 on the home computer. The last browser activity during that session is about 1:42 p.m. 1:44 p.m. Casey calls friend Amy, 2:21. 1:44 p.m. Casey calls friend Amy, 2:21. Call with Amy ends, 2:30. George Anthony testified that he left the home at this time to go to work, 2:49. Caylee Anthony's cell phone connects with the tower nearest to the home, and the Anthony family's desktop computer is activated by someone using a password-protected account Caylee Anthony used. 2:51 p.m. A Google search is made for the term foolproof suffocation, misspelling the last word as suffocation. Instead of the O, they put an I. The user clicked on the article criticizing pro-suicide website that promoted foolproof ways to die. 2:52. Activity on MySpace. 2:52 p.m. Casey answers phone call from Jesse Grund. He describes the conversation as abnormal, where Casey stated to him that her parents were divorcing and she had to find a new place to live. 3:04. Casey disconnected the phone call from Jesse Grund to take an incoming call from George Anthony. According to the defense, the 26-second call for her father took place as soon as he got to work to tell her, "I took care of everything," telling her he disposed of the body, and warning her to not tell her mother about the child's death. 3:34. Casey made a phone call to her boyfriend, Tony Lorenzo, unanswered. Between 4:10, 4:14, Casey made 6 unanswered phone calls to her mother. 4:11, Casey's cell phone pings indicates that it was at or near the house until she headed toward Lorenzo's apartment at 4:11 p.m. 7:52, she and Lorenzo has been seen entering and walking around casually a Blockbuster video store. Her daughter was not with them. June 17th, 2008, and Cindy Anthony noticed that the gate to the swimming pool is open and the ladder is next to the pool. June 18th or 19th, 2008, at 1:30, Caylee Anthony approached neighbor Brian Berner and asked if she could borrow a shovel. She needed to dig up a bamboo root she had been tripping over. Shovel. I love that description where it just says shovel. Absent noun. Who? Brian gave her the shovel? You should have said that instead of gave shovel. She took it in the garage where her car was backed in. He took shower. Can we English, guys? Okay, he took a shower, and Caylee Anthony returned shovel at 2:30. June 20th, 2008. Caylee Anthony is captured in various photos partying at a Fusion nightclub and participating in a harmonic contest. June 23rd, 2008. Anthony Lorenzo testified that he helped Casey break into the shed at her parents' home to take gas cans for Casey's car, which had ran out of gas. Lorenzo said he watched Caylee open the trunk of her car, although he did not see the inside of the trunk. He said there was no odor that could be detected. June 24th, 2008, George Anthony called police to report the break-in, report the gas cans missing. Later that day, he saw Caylee at the Anthony residence and confronted her about taking them. George said that when he went to go get them out of the daughter's car, she ran past him, quickly opening the trunk and retrieving the gas cans herself, yelling, "Here's your effing gas cans!" George testified that he smelled gasoline in the car, but did not detect any other odors. June 30th, 2008. Caylee's car is towed from a parking lot after being there for several days. Her purse and a child's car seat are found in the back seats. June 2nd, 2008. Caylee gets a tattoo on her back saying Bella Vita, which means beautiful life in Italian. July 15, 2008. George and Cindy Anthony pick up Caylee's car from the impound yard. Caylee Anthony observes a strong odor emanating from the vehicle and inspected it on the car trunk, revealing the plastic bag containing trash. Distressed became Caylee had not brought Caylee home in a month. Cindy tracks down and meets with Amy, who takes Cindy to the apartment where Caylee is staying and makes Caylee come home. Caylee tells her parents that she hadn't seen Caylee in a month, and the babysitter named Zendaya, Zanny, may have kidnapped her. Your child's been missing for a month, and you didn't call 911. You didn't go looking for her. You didn't say anything. The grandmother calls immediately 911 and supports granddaughter Caylee missing, because obviously that's what you do. July 16, 2008, police investigators discovered Caylee Anthony had been lying about her place of employment, where she says her nanny lives. As a result, Caylee is arrested and charged with child neglect, making false official statements, and obstructing an investigation. 2018, Caylee Anthony has Jose Baez as a legal attorney, who writes a letter to Orange County Sheriff's Office about Caylee's willingly to cooperate with law enforcement. June 22nd, 2008. Because of police testimony and allegedly incriminating evidence from the car, Circuit Court Judge Stan Strickland sets Caylee Anthony bails at $500,000. July 29th, 2008. Judge denies defense motion to ban the release to media, all jailhouse reporting, 911 tapes, and visitor logs. Florida police record law mandates. July 29th, 2008. Judge denies defense motion to ban it, blah, blah, blah. But anyways, so over the next 3 years, thousands of pages of audio, video, forensic information, and legal documents detailing the criminal investigation will be released. August 5th, 2008, the state attorney's office files formal charges against Caylee Anthony for one felony count of child neglect. August 8th, 2008, he reports that I forgot to turn my freaking light on. Hold on, I am sorry. I apologize. My bad. Reports investigators suspect Caylee may have drowned in the family swimming pool on June 16th. August 11th, 12th, and 13th. Meter reader. Roy Crunk reports suspicious bag to police. Police officer meets Crunk at the scene. Crunk tells him he has seen a skull and bones in the bag. However, the officer says it was rude and conducted only a cursory search. I'm guessing that's a lazy version of a search. This guy's name is Crunk, so I just want to scream, pull the lever, Crunk! But. Wrong lever. August 29th, 2008, Caylee Anthony is arrested again on charges of writing 4 checks worth nearly $650 on Amy, her friend's checking account, without permission. Orange County Police said the charges are unrelated to the investigation. The prosecutor offers Caylee a limited immunity deal to relate to the false statement given to the law enforcement locating her child. She is refused it soon after. The offer is renewed on August 25th and again refused. September 5th, 2008, Caylee Anthony parents post a $500,000 bail, and she was released from county jail into their custody about being fitted with an electronic tracking device. September 6, 2008. Deputies seize a handgun from the trunk of George Anthony's car because having a gun on the property violates Caylee's bail. George says he's planning to use it to force Caylee's friends to tell him what happened to Caylee. Wonder how that's going to go. September 10th, 2008, the whole family allegedly refuses to take a lie detector test offered by both FBI and local authorities. September 15th and 16th, 2008, Caylee Anthony turns herself in on new check fraud charges, fraudulent use of identification, petty theft. She was released the next day on $1,250,000 bond. And again, fitted with an electronic. Dude, really? What? Did you not learn the first time? September 25th, 2008. Zanny, remember? The nanny? The Zendaya lady? That was the nanny? The woman Caylee Anthony reported named as an illegal babysitter Suspect in the case files a lawsuit against her, aka, "You talking bad about me, now I'm gonna fucking sue you over it." October 14, 2008, Caylee Anthony is indicted indicted by a grand jury on charges of first-degree murder, aggravated child abuse, aggravated manslaughter of a child, and 4 counts of proving false information to police. She is arrested later that day. Judge John Jordan, wow, Triple J, Judge John Jordan, orders that she be held without bond. No bond for you. No John's bond. Because it is a capital crime. Caylee Anthony faces possible death penalty. October 21st, 2008. Charges of child neglect are dropped against Caylee Anthony on assumption the child is dead. On October 28th, Caylee Anthony is arraigned and pleads not guilty to all charges. November 8th and 9th, 2008, Texas UUU search leads hundreds of volunteers in a search of a grid for Caylee. But when nothing is found, they suspended the search. I can't talk now. I'm sorry. I got coffee grounds in my coffee at the very bottom. I'm not sure. Oh, it gives a texture. Just kidding. November 15th, 2008. The Anthony family private investigator Dominic Casey searches the area where Caylee's remains later found. The search is videotaped. The family's attorney denies asking Dominic Casey to search there. The defense questioned who sent him to the area. He said that the psychic gave him the tip. According to the prosecution, the area was under several inches of water at the time. December 5th. The state initially says it will not seek the death penalty against Caylee Anthony. December 11th. And yet, a 4th tip for Moy Crunk. Pull the lever, Crunk! Crunk. Skeleton remains of what appears to be a small child are found 1/4 mile from the Anthony home. December 19th. Police announced DNA testing confirms that the remains belong to Caylee Anthony. What a silence. Okay, let's skip to 2009. January 23rd, 2009, police discovered George Anthony, who had been text messaging family members responding and possibly under the influence of alcohol and medication in the hotel room. Police also discovered a lengthy suicide note. On January 29th, 2009. But I wonder what that says. Hold on. I'm clicking on it. I'm just waiting for it to load. Has nothing to do with nothing of this. Okay, cool. Back to where it was. That was useless part of my time. I'm sorry. Glad I paused it so y'all don't have to fucking deal with it too. So, January 29th, Judge Stan Strickland orders Caylee Anthony to appear at all court hearings in her case. April 14th, the state of Florida reverses self and will seek the imposition of the death penalty. I'm sorry, that just messed my brain up like 2 points. It's like short-circuited. September 17th, 2009. Casey and the defense team files a motion to dismiss the murder charges against her because the state allegedly failed to preserve evidence in the case. The motion was denied. November 24th, 2009. Defense attorney accuses Texas EQUU searches Tim Miller of lying to the court in their claim of only 30 people searching in the area where Caylee remains were eventually found. The number was much higher. Okay, then. On December 18th, 2009, Judge Stan Strickland denies a request to take the death penalty off the table in the prosecution of Caylee Anthony. Okay, I'm done being lazy in my chair. I'll be here in your face. Okay, now we're at 2010. January 26, 2010, Caylee pleads guilty for the 13 fraudulent check charges, taking responsibility for her actions and make full restitution. The judge sentenced her to time served. April 19th, Judge Stan Strickland steps down after Caylee Anthony's defense team files a motion accusing him of having inappropriate conversations with a writer, Dave somebody, who blogged about the case. Strickland granted the motion because the accusation would generate renewed allegations of bias. Judge Belvin Perry Jr. is appointed to take over the case. Okay, what did I just read? 11. Judge Perry will allow the state to seek the death penalty. August 14th, Cindy Anthony appears as a guest on the Today Show, where she calls out Caylee as a victim and also claims she's not involved in what happened to Caylee's remains. George and Caylee Anthony's attorney, Brad Conway, steps down because he disputes a Jose Baez motion claiming Conway was given unrestricted access to documents belonging to Texas EQUU search, to which he was not given the same access. I know that because if one side gets it, the other side gets it. And so if Ooh, yeah. That's a good one. That's a good one. Like, not many people know that, but that's a good one. I've watched a lot of TV shows about this, about the law and stuff like that. So I'm sorry. My dogs are saying hello. So 2011, January 4th, 2011. Judge Belvin postpones ruling over 24 defense motions to exclude evidence from the trial. Over the next several months, Perry rules for or against those various motions to exclude evidence. Later, financially, Temptation's defense attorney, Jose, failing to turn over expert witnesses' discovery information to prosecutors before a certain deadline, April 1st, after numerous outbursts by lawyers in court over what is not scientific evidence, Judge Perry ruled more such behavior would result in a fine of $100 per outburst. Can you imagine having to pay for $100 for every outburst you have? Okay. No. After 11 days of jury selection, Judge Perry swears in a jury of 5 men, 7 women, plus 3 men and 2 women as alternate jurors. Trial begins in Orlando, Florida. The prosecutor states Caylee Anthony used duct tape to suffocate Caylee Anthony. The defense contends that child actually drowned in her grandparents' swimming pool, that Casey's father, George Anthony, warned Caylee she would be imprisoned for life for child neglect and then covered up the death, thus she failed to report the incident for 31 days. Also, because George Anthony had touched, we're going to call it that, Caylee as a child, she had a habit of hiding her pain and lying. Baez and Miss Caylee have fabricated the story of the nanny named Zendaya. Baez also questions whether Roy Crunk, who found the remains, actually removed them from somewhere else, and question police motives to pursue a murder investigation. Prosecutors called George Anthony as the first witness, and he denies them ever having a touching his daughter or covering up the death of Caylee. The prosecution calls various friends of Caylee Anthony who testified about her fabricated stories during June and July 2008 of having a job and employment of a nanny for Caylee. A neighbor testifies that in mid-June 2008, Caylee and her boyfriend borrowed a shovel from him to dig up a bamboo root. We covered that one. May 26, 2011, former boyfriend testified Caylee told him her brother, Lee Anthony, Caylee and has called him back to witness stands where he says that he did not smell decomposition in Caylee's car on June 24th. States he put duct tape over a hole in one of the plastic gas cans, and she had returned it. May 27, 2011. A tow truck company manager, George Anthony, testifies that their experience of smell from Caylee resembles human decomposition. During cross-examination, George Anthony tells Jose Baez that he did not. What? Okay, so during cross-examination, George Anthony tells Jose, the lawyer, that he did not touch Caylee. We've covered that. I'm pretty sure we did earlier. Yeah, back in like May 24th. Now we're on May 27th. What? Okay, sorry. May 28th, former boyfriend testifies about Caylee's normal behavior on June 16th, 2008. Cindy Anthony testifies that they swam the day and that Caylee could get up on the ladder in the pool. She also believed Caylee worked at Universal Studios Orlando Resort and had a babysitter named Zanny. May 31st, 2011, Cindy Anthony says her description of Caylee's car smell like someone died in just a figure of speech. She tried to get rid of the smell by spraying Febreze, household odor limiter. She says she found the pool ladder in the pool the evening of June 16th. Caylee's friend Amy talks on Caylee's frustration by getting help with Caylee and reveals that on June 27th, Caylee texted her about a dead animal on the frame of the car. June 1st. First officers arrived at the Anthony home on July 16, 2008, testified that they did not smell human decomposition in Caylee's car and admitted that they did not search the other 2 family cars. He also testified that Caylee's going to Universal Orlando Resort with Caylee that day, but she confessed she no longer worked there and did not have a nanny named Zendaya. Sorry, I was staring at myself because this eye is acting up. See? Videotapes are shown of Caylee lying to her parents in jail and denying to an officer on July 16, 2008 that Caylee had drowned in the pool, as she suggested. Investigators describe evidence collected from Caylee's car and obtaining from the towering yard the plastic bags that had been in it. States he smelled human decomposition. June 4th, an FBI forensic scientist testified the single hair removed from the car trunk was similar to hair from Caylee's hairbrush that had root banding consistency that was from a decomposing body. June 6th, Dr. Arpad National Laboratory describes using a gas chromatograph mass spectrometer. Yeah. To find signs of human decomposition and a high level of chloroform in the trunk of Casey's car. The defense challenges vast financial motive and chain of evidence. Okay. June 7th. Chloroform residue is found in the trunk of Casey's car, but also states that household cleaning products can leave traces of chloroform too. A dog handler describes dog alerting to human dog present in the trunk, as long as also in her playhouse. 8th. Second dog handler says his dog smelled decomposition in the backyard. Computer alerts confirmed the search for chloroform on Casey's computer March 17th and how to make chloroform March 21st, 2008 on her computer. Damn. Fire. Ew. Okay. June 9, 2011, software analyst says someone used the Anthony computer to search websites sizespot.com for chloroform 84 times. 84 times. 84 times. To search up chloroform. Let that sink in. During cross-examination, he admits that automatic page reloading could account for that number, and there's no way of knowing who performed the searches. Investigators shown photographers' remains, including of duct tape that appears to be over the mouth area. One admits the duct tape might not originally have been on the mouth and could have shifted position as he collected remains. Caylee Anthony becomes ill looking at the photographies, and the jury is dismissed for the day. June 10th. Ew. Crime scene investigators describe similar maggots found in the car trunk and at the crime scene. For anyone that's wondering, I hate maggots with a passion. June 11th, 2011. An expert, he found flies related to decomposition in the trunk of Casey's car. Orange County, Florida crime scene investigators identify a piece of Henkel brand duct tape found on the scene and testifies it is the same brand as George Anthony put on the red gas can. One states that there's no Henkel brand tape was found elsewhere in Anthony's home. I'm trying to just find something where it's just repeating itself at this point in time. So I'm trying to find something worth. Still stuck on that she drowned part. Ladder on the pool. Okay, cool. What? Okay, sorry. Had nothing to do with anything. It was just stated something. Okay. Okay, what? They're now talking about the smell of death in their backyard kind of thing. Cindy and Lee Anthony all testify. The father, the wife, and then the son all testifies that their pets have been buried in the backyard. Cindy calls it a tradition to wrap them in blankets and plastic bags. Duct tape was used to keep the plastic bags from opening, the same way her daughter was found. Bags, blankets, tape. Okay. July 3rd, 2011. The judge rules during the closing arguments, the defense could argue there was a drowning involved into the death of Caylee because there was significant evidence that, but not argue. Prosecutor does an hour and a half of closing arguments, offering a timeline of events and asserting that Casey had intentionally suffocated Caylee to death by putting 3 pieces of duct tape placed over her face. The alleged motive was that the child interfered with her partying lifestyle and spending time with her boyfriend. The prosecutor states that the defense story that Caylee drowned in the George encouraged Casey to cover up the accident made no sense. Blah, blah, blah. July 5th, 2011. After 10 hours of deliberation, the jury acquits Caylee Anthony of all felony charges, first-degree murder, aggravated manslaughter, aggravated child abuse, convince her of all 4 misdemeanor charges of being false information to law enforcement officers. Judge Perry sentenced Caylee Anthony to 1 year in county jail. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so I just looked. Nothing else important is in any of this. She has been branded America's most hated mom. Suspicious killings. It's a documentary streaming everywhere, but I never said she's actually went to jail. But there's a new Peacock documentary where the truth lies, Caylee Anthony. So yeah, cool, go watch it. But that is it, folks. That's all you're gonna get from me. I can't promise nothing special. And I hope that you enjoyed it because I had fun making this one, and I'm glad to be back for you. Bye. Have a good time.